the end, Lain Iwakura doesn't die. She simply dissipates. She asks the world to forget her, and it does. But what if that wasn't an act of godlike power, but the final symptom of a self that never properly formed? What if Serial Experiments Lain isn't a prophecy about the internet, but a diagnosis? Today, we aren't just talking about a girl who navigates the web. We are talking about the death of the subject. To understand Lain's dissolution, we must travel to the core of psychoanalytic theory, to Jacques Lacan. Lacan speaks of a key moment in the formation of the self, the introduction of the name of the father. This isn't just a literal father, but the principle of law, of order, of the shared symbolic reality that separates us from the chaotic world of our desires. When this fundamental law is rejected or foreclosed, the result isn't neurosis, but the potential for psychosis. The psychic structure that should filter reality is missing. For such a subject, the external world isn't mediated by symbols and rules. It invades the mind directly, without a buffer. Lain Iwakura is a walking case study of foreclosure. For her, the name of the father, the law that distinguishes the real from the virtual, was never installed. Look at her home. Her father is a silent, absent presence, more connected to his machines than to her. The symbolic order of the family is broken. This is why from the beginning, Lain has no stable ground. The Wired isn't a separate place she logs into. It's a layer of reality that is just as present, just as real, as her school or her bedroom. The barrier is forecluded. The law of reality is missing. Without the father's law to structure her world, Lain's reality becomes porous. The Wired doesn't just influence her mind, it constitutes it. Information, memories, and the identities of others flow into her consciousness without permission. This is the psychotic breakdown Lacan described. The real, that which is outside symbolization, invades the subject. For Lain, the raw, unmediated data of the Wired is the real, and it floods her constantly. She doesn't hallucinate. She perceives a layer of data that for her has the same ontological weight as a physical object. Her famous question, "Who am I?" isn't philosophical. It's a desperate cry of a subject with no stable core, being rewritten by the data stream in real time. And what happens when a fragile self is subjected to this onslaught? It fragments. It creates doubles. Drawing from Freud and Otto Rank, the doppelganger is not just a twin. It is a splitting of the psyche, a manifestation of a self that is not unified. It is the return of what has been repressed, but in Lain's case, it's the return of what was never properly formed in the first place. Lain doesn't create alternate personas in the Wired. She discovers them. The cruel, godlike Lain isn't a mask she puts on. It is a dissociated part of her own psyche, given a platform to exist independently. This is the ultimate horror of the double. It's not an external enemy, but a piece of your own mind that you no longer control, that now has its own autonomy. Each Lain in the Wired is a symptom of her fragmentation, a desperate attempt by her psyche to give form to the conflicting data that constitutes her. Lain's solution to this crisis of the self is both heartbreaking and logical. To stop the chaos, to fix the broken world, she must become the one thing she never had. She must become the law itself. She becomes the name of the Father for the entire Wired, the gatekeeper who reinstalls the boundary between the real and the virtual. But to do this, she must sacrifice the subject that was never whole to begin with. There is no Lain Iwakura left to live a human life. The self was a temporary glitch in the system, and she chooses to terminate the process. She doesn't die. She deletes her own instance. She achieves the ultimate depersonalization. So what does this 90s anime tell us about our world today? Serial Experiments Lain is a warning about a culture flirting with collective foreclosure. When our primary reality becomes the digital sphere, a space without consistent law, where we can be multiple, contradictory personas, are we not also foreclosing the Father? Are we rejecting the shared symbolic reality that grounds us? The Internet doesn't just allow us to have different sides, it encourages the creation of autonomous doubles, our professional LinkedIn self, our curated Instagram self, our anonymous forum self. Lain shows us the terminal point of this path, not a rich multiplicity, but a terrifying emptiness, the death of the subject, not with a bang, but with a quiet request to be forgotten.
Lain's story is not about the dangers of technology, but about the fragility of the self. The Wired was merely the catalyst that exposed a pre-existing void. In our age of digital doubles and curated realities, her question echoes louder than ever. If we are not careful, the wire that connects us all may become the very thing that unravels who we are. The greatest fear is not that the machines will become conscious, but that in merging with them, we, like Lain, might forget how to be.